What's up guys, back with another training log and Q&A. Leave questions you want to hear me go over in the comments. So basic recap of this week's training on each lift, starting with squats where I was kind of a pussy. Anyways, like I said last week, post-meet is about getting back in the groove mainly. I can feel my strength is good on squats, they feel good, but my groove is still a bit off. You'll note that I descend a bit slow when the clips come up. I've talked about descending as fast as you can with control. Get the most stretch reflex you can, and I haven't been doing that the best, something to improve upon this next week. Bench and deadlift on the other hand, they were quite good. Just like last week, slowly building back up, getting that momentum. That's something that's really underlooked in training, building momentum. Think of it this way, let's say you have an absolutely terrible workout. Failing weights usually hit, you're sore, you're tired, your form feels off. Who do you think is going to handle that workout better? Somebody who had a rough few weeks of training, or somebody who had a few weeks of great workouts? The guy with rough training, he'll probably be upset, hell he might even skip the gym or burn out completely. The guy who had great workouts, he might not be happy, but when you've had only good workouts recently, you'll be like, whatever, probably just a one-off, maybe the fatigue finally caught up to me. Having good momentum in training creates this positive feedback cycle where you're more motivated, you give better effort, and you get better results. So I really try to focus on building momentum. There's a couple of strategies for that. One is to avoid pushing yourself too hard. Now let's say for example, my squat single feels like I could add 20 kilos to it. I could just do that next week, but then I'm basically at my limit. I can't add much the next week. What I could also do is instead add 5 kilos each week, so each week I can tell myself I'm doing more than last week and use that to reinforce my effort. And since it took me 4 weeks to reach the same point, I'm more likely to have built strength, so I could do more than the 20 kilos over the initial single. Another good way to build momentum is to have small goals and small wins. Just keep stacking them up. These don't always have to be number-based either, because we can't always control the outcome, but we can control the process for the most part. Say on squats, I want to make sure I focus on my mid-foot balance this week. I want to give the same effort on my accessories as I do on my main work. I want to make sure I get my protein and calories in every day. I want to make sure I get my 8 hours of sleep. Stack up these little wins and they really add up and help you build to a bigger and bigger total. So that brings me to my progression on my main lifts. On bench, I'm doing 3-week microcycles. I'll add 2.5 kilos each week, and then in the new microcycle, I reset back but add 2.5 kilos more to where I started. So essentially I'm progressing at a rate of 2.5 kilos every 3 weeks. This way I'm not having to add weight continuously, but if I always look back at the same point in the last microcycle, I'm doing more. It's easy to mentally tell myself I'm building momentum. I usually do something similar on squats and deadlifts, but right now I'm gaining weight, so my strength is going up a bit more linearly during these periods. For that reason, I'm doing a linear progression, just 2.5 kilos on working sets and 5 kilos on top singles each week. This linear progression would be a bit much on bench since the weight is more percentage-wise, but it works on the lower body. I've had some real great success just with really simple progression like that. Just because something is simple and not complex doesn't mean it doesn't work well. Anyways, that's basically all I have to say about the training portion of this video. Just a real solid week. Now onto the Q&A section, going over questions about my program. Somebody asked me why I mix pounds and kilograms. The reason being, I'm doing different ones on each lift. I do all my deadlifts on kilogram plates since the competition setup is a bit harder. I want to be used to that groove. On bench, I try to do the same, be used to the competition setup unless it's too busy. I don't find the difference is as big on bench, so it's not as big a deal if I don't get to use them. Now squats is a real special one here. Normally, yes, I would use the competition setup because the groove on the bar is a bit different. However, my comp racks at my gym have gotten moved and now they have a mirror in front of them. I look straight ahead when I squat, and if you look in a mirror often, you get used to it and get thrown off without it, such as in a meet when there's no mirror. So for now, I'm using the regular rack where it's easier to just load pound plates than go and get the kilo plates. I don't think this will be a big difference specificity-wise until I get back to the bigger squats, around the 700-pound range where the bar starts to really whip. At that point, I can go on the competition setup again, and I won't have to train on it long enough to the point where I'm going to get too used to the mirror. So next question I got, why do I do 5 minutes of cycling every day? So I've talked about how cardio can be beneficial, lower injury rates anecdotally, since it can help with recovery, some theoretical mechanism with load management there. There's also another study, I'll link below to all these studies I mentioned in the video again. Anyways, showing that basic cycling can enhance strength gains. A meta-analysis on the interference effect has shown that there's no real negative effects with low-impact cycling done after your lifting session. I also care about general heart health, especially as I'm going up in weight, which isn't as optimal for the heart, obviously. I also make sure I get a good amount of walking in. I get around 1200 met minutes of cardio totally, if you're familiar with that unit. Walking has also been shown to enhance recovery. Increased step counts between sessions enhances recovery, another study linked below. I do 10 minutes of cycling and a walk on Sundays as well, which is my non-lifting day. This is my main work day for coaching and I'm sitting a lot. I found my Monday squat workout actually feels a lot better with this light movement. If you sit a lot, try doing some light movement on these days and I think you'll find you'll get similar results. Next question, will I up my leg volume in the future? Now, believe it or not, this kinda is upping my leg volume. I've been doing 4 sets each on squats and deadlifts in the not so distant past, and that was with no isolation work. I do think as I improve my conditioning I could, but I still do feel quite sore between sessions. I'll see how I recover and progress and adjust as need be. This basic guide by Mike Tuchscherer I've mentioned before works well here. We want to perform good and feel good. If we feel good and perform bad, we should up the workload, we're recovered enough and could handle more stimulus to spur the gains. If we feel bad and perform bad, we should reduce our workload, we probably aren't recovering enough, impairing our gains. And if we feel bad but perform good, we want to be cautious, we don't want to burn out. So the next question I got is using rate of perceived exertion versus percentage-based programming. So I think there needs to be some balance of both. Some level of auto-regulation, given things can change and we don't want to be too rigid like how percentage can be, but at the same time don't want to overcorrect, so having percentage to establish an anchor point is good as well. I have a long video where I talk about this in more detail. Related to RPE and adjusting to how we feel, I'm not sure how much we should actually adjust this way. Studies on auto-regulation tend to show no benefit, though that could be the protocol not being the best. What limits us when we fail isn't actually our muscles, it's our CNS's ability to stimulate them. We can electrically stimulate the muscle directly after they fail voluntarily and they'll contract. So this would imply even when we're feeling more fatigued, our muscles can still work more. So should we keep working them, keep pushing them when we feel fatigued? Or should we listen to the CNS being fatigued? Is there some important biological reason for that? I honestly don't know. I could lead one way or the other based on the mechanisms, but that's an easy way to be misled. There's lots of mechanisms that don't actually turn out into real-world results in the outcomes we care about. For example, the anabolic window, the idea that we need to eat right after a workout since muscle protein synthesis rates are higher. Studies show no actual benefit in hypertrophy. Look for real-world outcome data, even if the mechanism sounds plausible. So that's basically it. Comment more questions you have below. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.